Hello, a very good morning. Welcome to the Mega News, the 6th news coming to you live from our studios here on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. My name is El Samuels. The news is also live across our social media handle, Facebook, YouTube, X, on MBN 360. But first, the headlines.
Kantanka Security Services license suspended over shooting incident. In business, higher yields fail to raise T-bill demand. Auction records 1.07 billion cedis shortfall. And on the international front, Ethiopia PM's party wins landslide as fears grow of new conflict.
The Ministry of Interior has suspended the operation license of Kantanka Security Service Limited with immediate effect of an alleged breaching involving the use of unapproved uniform, as well as possession and use of firearms ammunition by some of its personnel whilst on duty.
A statement issued on Monday, June 22, said the decision follows preliminary investigations into an incident reported on Sunday, June 21, 2026, at Kwabenya in Accra, where personnel of the private security firm are alleged to have engaged in activities that violate regulations governing private security organizations. According to the ministry, the alleged conduct, including the use of unauthorized uniforms and possession and use of firearms and security accoutrements, amounts to a serious breach with implications for public safety under the Police Service Private Security Organizations Regulations 1992 LI 1571. The ministry has therefore directed Kantanka Security Services Limited to cease all operations immediately pending the outcome of investigations. It has also instructed the public and all institutions to suspend any business dealings with the company until further notice. It further directed the company to cooperate fully with the Ghana Police Service and provide all necessary information to assist ongoing investigations. The ministry assured that the suspension is a precautionary administrative measure intended to protect public safety while due process is followed. It added that appropriate action will be taken after investigations are concluded in line with Ghana's laws governing private security operations. The suspension comes amid investigations into a shooting incident at Kwabenya linked to tensions within the Christo Asafo mission, in which former Domi Kwabenya Member of Parliament, Sarah Adjo-Asafo, was allegedly shot at while attempting to serve court documents on her younger brother, Israel Kwejo Safo Akofena. The ministry therefore urged the public to report any suspected unlawful activities involving private security companies to the nearest police station, reiterating its commitment to enforcing compliance and ensuring accountability within the sector.
Away from that story, Carlson International and Research and a Policy think tank has called on government to increase funding for road maintenance in the upcoming 2026 media budget review, citing widespread of road damage caused by heavy rains across the country.
The organization says roads, bridges, and drainage systems have deteriorated significantly, with potholes widening into deep gullies in several communities, disrupting transport, increasing vehicle maintenance costs, and slowing economic activity. Speaking on the issue, the director of the West Africa Regional Center of CATS International, Apia Kusi Adomako, said the situation requires urgent intervention rather than a delayed response. Every day, ordinary Guineans are paying the price for bad roads. They spend more time in traffic, pay more to fix their cars, use more fuel, and face higher road risks. This is no longer about minor potholes. In many places, the roads are breaking down badly, and the government must respond with urgency, he said. CATS noted that While road maintenance works are more effective during the dry season, the current level of deterioration means some sections require immediate emergency intervention to keep roads safe and usable. The think tank warned that patching potholes temporarily is not a sustainable solution, explaining that poor drainage systems, weak road foundations, and repeated flooding continue to damage repaired sections. CATS is therefore urging the government to prioritize proper maintenance works, drainage improvement, bridge rehabilitation, and stronger supervision of road projects. While commending government's big push agenda on road construction, CATS cautioned against prioritizing new infrastructure at the expense of existing roads that are deteriorating. As government pursues its big push in road construction, we must remember that a road network is only as strong as its weakest link. New roads are important, but existing roads must also be protected. We cannot build new roads with one hand and allow older roads to collapse with the other, Mr. Adomako added. CATS emphasized that road maintenance is one of the most cost-effective ways of protecting public investment and reducing the long-term burden on road users. The group acknowledged government allocations of about 3 billion Ghana cedis to the Ghana Road Maintenance Trust Fund in the 2026 budget compared to an estimated 3.1 billion Ghana cedis in 2025, but said the current damage caused by heavy rains requires additional funding in the mid-year budget review. It argued that reliance on existing funding sources could not be sufficient to address the scale of damage recorded across the country. CATS also urged governments to resource metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies (MMDAs) to enable them to respond quickly to road and bridge failures within their jurisdictions.
In another story, the lead investigator, attorney with the Economic and Organized Crime Office (EOCO), Frank Marshall Cromwell, has told the High Court that former National Signals Bureau Director General Kobna Edun-Boahen and his wife Angela Adjei-Boateng issued 3 checks totaling $7 million to an account jointly owned by them.
The disclosure was made during proceedings in the ongoing 49.1 million Ghana cedis theft case when Cromwell was cross-examined by Deputy Attorney General Justice Srem-Sai. According to the investigator, court records showed that in February 2020, the accused persons made a payment of $1.75 million to an Israeli company, ISC Holdings, for the procurement of a cybersecurity defense system. Cromwell testified that the payment was the only transaction made from the accounts for the stated purpose. He further informed the court that shortly after the transaction, the accused persons instructed the bank to close the accounts used in the deal. The investigator also told the court that the remaining funds in the accounts were subsequently transferred to another account at UMB Bank belonging to Angela Adjei-Boateng. The testimony forms part of ongoing efforts by the prosecution to trace the movement of funds and establish the circumstances surrounding the alleged misappropriation of public funds in the case. The matter has been adjourned as proceedings continue. Edun-Boahen and his wife are standing trial on charges including stealing, conspiracy to steal, defrauding by false pretenses, willfully causing financial loss to the state, using public office for profit, collaboration to use public office for profit, obtaining public property by false statements, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. According to the prosecution, Mr. Edun-Boahen, who was the immediate past director of NSB, unlawfully obtained 49.1 million Ghana cedis from the National Security Coordinator's Special Operations account and transferred the funds into the account of a private company, BNC Communications Limited. The prosecution contends that the funds were subsequently used for the private benefit of the appellants.
And that does it for the stories on the major front. We turn our attention to the business desk, where investor demand for treasury bill in the primary market remains subdued last week, with the latest auction falling short of government fundraising target by 1.07 billion Ghana cedis.
Results released by the Bank of Ghana showed that investors submitted a total of 4.21 billion Ghana cedis in bids across the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day Treasury bill tenors. The government accepted the entire amount tendered, raising 4.21 billion Ghana cedis. Against a target of 5.27 billion cedis, the amount accepted resulted in a funding shortfall of 1.07 billion cedis, representing an undersubscription of 20.2%. The 91-day Treasury bill continued to account for the largest share of investor demand, attracting bids worth 2.26 billion cedis, all of which were accepted by the government. The 182-day bill recorded bids of 802.87 million Ghana cedis, with the government accepting the full amount tendered. Meanwhile, investors submitted 1.15 billion cedis for the 364-day bill, and the government accepted all the bids received, indicating no rejections across any of the three tenors. Yields went up across the curve. The yield on the 91-day bill edged up 26 basis points to 5.30% from 5.04% in the previous auction. The 182-day bill also increased 5 basis points to 7.13% from 7.08%, while the 364-day bill rose 39 points to 11.36% from 10.97%. The outcome suggests that investor appetites for government securities weakened considerably, despite the government accepting all bids submitted. Looking ahead, the government plans to raise 4.60 billion Ghana cedis through its next auction.
Away from the business desk, we turn our attention to the international front, precisely Africa, where Ethiopian Minister Abiy Ahmed is the big winner following the country's general election, as his party has retained its overwhelming parliamentary majority, despite the poll being overshadowed by conflict, accusation of repression, and little participation by opposition parties.
The Prosperity Party, which won 438 of the 501 contested seats, will form the new government with Abiy set to be sworn in for another term at the beginning of October. It is a boon for Abiy's supporters, who believe he will continue with the economic gains he has overseen, but others fear the internal divisions and security challenges facing Africa's second most populous country are only going to get worse with Abiy at the helm. The 49-year-old first came to power amid anti-government protests in 2018, and he was the first hailed for his campaign to heal divisions, though he upset politicians from the northern region of Tigray who had dominated the government for more than 2 decades. Just a year later, he won the Nobel Peace Prize, mainly for his efforts in ending hostilities with Ethiopia's northern neighbor Eritrea. But security experts fear the country could be heading back to war, while the violent and deadly insurgencies in Ethiopia's Amhara and Oromia regions show no sign of ending. The country's two most populous regions because of safety concerns caused by armed groups fighting the government, the Fano militias in Amhara and the proscribed Omoro Liberation Army Ola in Oromia, which both want greater autonomy, rejected the election and its result. The situation is also troubling in Tigray, which is still recovering from a 2-year civil war that only ended in 2022. The region and its 6 million inhabitants, comprising 38 constituencies, were completely excluded from the poll amid rising fears that fighting could break out once more. Tigray borders Eritrea, and during the war, its troops were allied with the Ethiopian government's forces. They were accused of widespread atrocities against Tigrayan civilians, which were denied. But since the conflict ended, relations between Addis Ababa and Asmara have sharply deteriorated.
And that's how we wrap up this morning's Mega News on the Morning Focus. But before we take leave of you, a recap of the stories making headlines.
Kantanka Security Services license suspended over shooting incident. In business, higher yields fail to raise T-bill demand. Auction records 1.07 billion cedis shortfall. And on the international front, Ethiopia PM's party wins landslide as fears grow of new conflict.
For more of this news and many more, log on to MBN 360. The news came to you live from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. My name is El Samuels. Up next is a sports update. Good morning.